everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the election in France. But first, let's go back to 2002, the first time that a Front National candidate made it into the runoff. Well, what is a runoff? A runoff is the second round of the French presidential elections. After the first round, if no candidate obtains more than 50% of the vote, which is increasingly common, then there is a runoff election held between the two highest scoring candidates. The winner of this will become the presidency. In 2002, Jean-Marie Le Pen, Marianne Le Pen's father, surprised everyone by coming second in the first round. He defeated Lionel Jospin, the socialist candidate, to make it into the second round against Jacques Chirac. Chirac was a right-winger, and people thought of him as more of a moderate right-winger. And when he went up against the far-right Jean-Marie Le Pen, he won in an absolute landslide, scoring a whopping 82% of the vote to Marie Le Pen's 17%. However, this was only the first time that a Front National candidate would make it into the final round. Because while in 2012, the two main candidates were able to successfully stamp out the Front National candidate. In this election, Marine Le Pen, picking up her father's standard where he left off, achieved 17% of the vote. However, the two main establishment parties, the Socialist Party and the Conservative Union for a Popular Movement, each came in first and second place respectively with 28 and 27% in the first round, with Francois Hollande of the Socialist Party triumphing in the second round. Which brings us to 2017. In 2017, as you can see here on the screen, the En Marche candidate Emmanuel Macron defeated Marianne Le Pen. So where did the Socialist Party go? Where did the Conservative Party go? Well, in the first round of those elections, the Conservative Party and the Socialist Party were absolutely decimated. The presidency of Francois Hollande had absolutely destroyed the Socialist Party, and his successor as leader, Hamon of the Socialists, only won a mere 15% of his voters. Additionally, for the Conservatives, Francois Fillon of the main Conservative Party, Les Républicains, only won 59% of his predecessor, Nicolas Sarkozy's voters. Meanwhile, Marine Le Pen and Emmanuel Macron filled the gaps with a new Socialist Party led by Jean-Luc Mélenchon, achieving a major amount of support from the left. And so, after Macron absolutely annihilated Marine Le Pen in the second round of that election, we went to 2022, the most recent elections. In these elections, Emmanuel Macron, so far in the first round, seems to have claimed victory. His victory was not as big as had hoped, with only 27% of the vote, beating Marine Le Pen with 23%, Jean-Luc Mélenchon with 22%, Eric Zemmour with 7%, and many other candidates. So let's begin by talking about who's going to the runoff. Emmanuel Macron and Marine Le Pen are set for a rematch, just like 2017. Emmanuel Macron and Marine Le Pen in 2020 will face each other again, yet there will be a drastically different electorate. While in 2017, Macron and Le Pen clashed and all candidates other than those two endorsed Macron, here it is a much different story. This is because of many things, but one of the most important is that Jean-Luc Mélenchon is a clear kingmaker. Le Pen has only the candidate Zemmour to her right. Zemmour is a far-right columnist who has convictions for inciting racial hatred and he's mostly known for his TV shows where he's anti-immigrant. Additionally, there is Valérie Pécresse, the main center-right party, Les Républicains, who only achieved 4.8% of the vote, an absolutely horrendous result for a party that achieved almost success in the last elections. Even further down the list, we have Jadot of the Green Party, who achieved only 4.6% of the vote. He was followed by many other candidates, but most notable among them, Anne Hidalgo, the candidate of the Socialist Party, which had won the presidency only 2 elections ago. However, now she achieved only 1.8%. Absolutely horrendous. Yet, Mélenchon seems to be the kingmaker. But why? Well, Mélenchon, of course, shows that it's a three-horse race. Between Macron's 28%, Le Pen's 23%, and Mélenchon's 22%, you can see a large drop-off between Mélenchon and Zemmour, who had 7%. And in fact, Mélenchon also illustrates the divided left. If all the other candidates, such as Anne Hidalgo, the socialist, Jadot of the Green Party, and Arthod, the communist, and as well as Roussel, if they had all united behind Mélenchon, Mélenchon would have easily made it into the second round. And yet, they didn't. So now it is quickly becoming a contest, with Zemmour endorsing Le Pen, and many of the left-wing candidates like Jadot endorsing Macron. However, Mélenchon has yet to endorse either candidate. He did make a speech to his followers, although this speech did not endorse Macron. He simply said that no voters who voted for him should vote for Marine Le Pen. However, it doesn't seem that all of his voters will agree. In fact, polls taken after the election showed that of Mélenchon's voters, around a third are split evenly, with a third voting for Marine Le Pen, a third indicating support for Emmanuel Macron, and a third believing that their only choice is to abstain, faced with what they consider a choice between two evils. It still seems that Emmanuel Macron will win, as he has the support of most voters who are not Zemmour, Mélenchon, or Le Pen voters. However, it is bound to be a very close election, as Le Pen, Mélenchon, and Zemmour combined largely defeat Emmanuel Macron, Valérie Pécresse, and the other candidates in the runoff. Additionally, candidates such as Pécresse who did endorse Macron, their voters should not be expected to merit the decision, especially for Valérie Pécresse, whose party is already divided over whether or not to support Macron, Le Pen, or to not support anyone at all. As you can see here, certain geographic locations are easily seen, with Paris voting in large margins for Mélenchon, the Northwest voting for Emmanuel Macron, and the Northeast and South voting for Le Pen. It remains to be seen what will happen, although the unemployment rates in certain areas of France where Le Pen won are much higher, whereas the more employed areas voted for Macron. One only remains to see what will happen, but it is sure to be an interesting night in April 24th, only 2 weeks after the first round of the elections. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this video.